Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be looking at the performance of this 10-year-old CPU from 2009, the Xeon X3470, clocked at 2.93 GHz, which I bought from AliExpress for $17. Overclocking the CPU with my equally old Intel DH55 motherboard, which is a bad overclocker to be blunt. I still managed to overclock the CPU up to 3.14 GHz from 2.93, its base clock, stable without pumping any extra voltage and using this Antec A30 cooler from Amazon. Pairing the CPU up with a GTX 960 2GB, which is also from AliExpress, let's take a look at the performance figures of this processor. Starting off with Assassin's Creed Syndicate, the average FPS is 60 and the 1% lows is 44. Overall, the gameplay experience is very smooth, and when you're fighting enemies, the FPS fluctuates between 50 to 80 or 90 FPS, depending on the place you are and the view you're having at that time. And next we have Watch Dogs 2 with an average of 46 FPS with a 1% low of 24. The FPS really fluctuates when you're in the city and outside of the cities. In the cities you get around like 33 FPS, and when there are explosions going on, you know, those bombing those tunnels and stuff, cars flying around, there's like, it drops down to 24 FPS. And when you're outside the city in the jungle, and the FPS goes up to the high 80s and 70s. I do recommend capping the FPS at 60, so you know, in turn the people say that it makes your gameplay feel more smoother, I guess, due to not much fluctuations. But either way, you could easily play Watch Dogs 2 in this setup. Next we have Fortnite with textures and view distance at high with 900p full render resolution, and we have an average of 124 FPS, and it sometimes goes down to 60 and 50 FPS when there are so many enemies on your screen fighting. Do take note that I have benchmarked this game in the Team Rumble mode, where there are about 30-40 enemies in a single circle building and all those things blowing up and stuff, and it really tanks the FPS. So when you're in a normal public match, you should expect better frame performance. Overall, the experience on Fortnite was very smooth, and if you're targeted for the minimum 60 FPS mark, you should be able to play it smoothly if you're a casual just trying to be competitive, I guess. But you would really want a 144Hz plus monitor if you want to be competitive in this kind of games. So yeah, and when fighting enemies, the FPS doesn't drop down below 60 FPS and just stays above it. So overall, this was pretty pleasant to play with this type of system. Moving on, we have Far Cry New Dawn with the shadows set to medium and everything else at ultra. The average FPS is at 45 and the 1% low is at 31. And when you're fighting enemies, it doesn't really fluctuate much, it just stays around 40 to 49, 50 FPS like that. Overall it's pretty smooth, and you could easily play this game on max settings. You could actually put the shadows to ultra, but those are really taxing on the CPU, and since it's a first gen CPU, I don't really want to, you know, put pressure on it that much, and I'm happy with this kind of performance. Depends on you too, and of course I'm using a GTX 960, so if you have a better GPU, of course you're gonna get better performance with this processor. And that was it for the benchmarks. If you like what you're seeing, subscribe, like, or share the video, and I'll see you again in the next one. Thank you for watching, everyone. See ya.